Yep, it's me again, talking down to you. I gotta remember to do the camera angle thing. Anyway, yeah, I thought I'd do the, since I was thinking about next videos, the subject we really haven't been able to get anywhere with, even with the free will thing and the you're not in control of your brain thing and all that kind of crap, all the stuff that try to detach us from our ego. We're still not on the same page when it comes to describing how why people should be concerned not only with their present day human beings and how they're living, but also concerned regarding the future, what the world will look like. And I'll do up here better exposure. That there's the consequences. That's really all that life is living a good life. We're going to have such a definition, or attempt to make a definition of what human beings should live for, what their brain should calculate as the mission of their life. Now, I'm not talking about what their emotions say, what their sex organs say, nipples, anuses, any little sensual or whatever the sense says to them. No, but what is their intelligence? What does their intelligence calculate to be the useful purpose of their existence, or one of those purposes? I just don't see how it's intellectually escapable. I understand how it's emotionally uncomfortable, non-compatible even, but if you're truly going to be intelligent about it, you really can't make judgments. You can't make distinctions between your consciousness and another human being's consciousness. There's just no logical argument, unless you think your consciousness is doing something special, that your fantasies are somehow better, that your aspirations are better, that your desires are, that your senses are somehow more tingly and more lovable. Like your penis is better than everybody else's or something. How the hell? You just can't. There's no way to avoid the obvious conclusion that your brain should be calculating in the mutual interest, the best interest of the most consciousness as possible, not your own interest. Your own interest is obviously just 1 in 7 billion humans, or 1 in 7 gazillion sentient organisms scurrying around planet Earth, and that all that consciousness is just as meaningful, just as substantial, just as in need of your brain working for its interest as your own. Obviously, as selfish organisms, we're programmed to be selfish by nature. It's not natural for us to be able to say, I'm going to do something that's going to hurt me because it's going to help more people than it's going to harm. That it's a logical equation and not a personal equation. So if somebody has to endure a pain, you're not going to imagine yourself enduring it. You're going to try to find some way to make somebody else pay the price. And we do that in our economy and everything else. Everybody keeps trying to push the burden somewhere else. Make the cigarette tax, the smokers pay the bills. The rich or whatever, but that's a more rational argument that can be made, that their contribution needs to be higher because the merit of their acquiring of their wealth has a lot less integrity or real deserve. Deserve doesn't have anything to do with most of our rich man economy. So anyway, I don't want to get into that subject. It's just the subject of we're all these feeling creatures walking this planet, and we can emotionally hate each other. We can emotionally be revolted by each other. we can have lots of emotions, but when we're going to get intellectual, when we're going to use our brains, there's no way to avoid the fact that our brains have to be appreciating what's going on in all these other consciousness vessels, because those vessels are just as important as your sensibilities, your vessel. The welfare, the harm, the meaning is no less substantial. There's just no logical way to escape this reality. The jumping on the grenade scenario, the sacrifice yourself for the good of the team or the good of the collective, it can't be ignored. It is the rational, intellectual obligation. It's not about being a hero. It's not about being a martyr. No, it's just about logic and about doing what the logic demands, are trying to, aspiring to, at least acknowledging that your intelligence acknowledges that really is the prime directive. That's the first priority, is to protect civilization, to protect the entire human species, to protect the entire community of feeling organisms, or to do what's in their interest, or however you want to describe that goal. But the goal has to always be directed out and not internalized. There's no other place for logic to go. There's just no logical sentence that can be written to justify selfishness. It's a notion produced inside our brain by biology and psychology. It is not a notion that logic and reasoning can make any sense of whatsoever. There's nothing rational about selfishness. There's nothing logical about selfishness. Not when you're existing in an environment where the entities that are going to be impacted by your behavior are as substantial as you are. And you can't make these silly distinctions or these silly proclamations that because you think you're better, or because you feel you're superior. You actually have to back that up with some sort of proof, some sort of logical, rational proof. People can't do that. All we can do is talk about efficiencies and productivity. We got to use words that have actual meaning and not be talking about mushy ideas of individual rights. And, I don't even know how to describe the complexity of the fact that we can diminish the value of others because their behavior doesn't match what we would expect behavior to be. I concede, I can't have empathy for people who are destructive assholes. But logically and intellectually, I know there's no gain in harming them or not conceding that qualitatively, beyond a measurement of actual productive value, some real solid equation to defend a definition of better and worse, that judgments like that have no meaning. We've got to make them rational judgments. We can hate people, we can dislike people, and we should do it based on how efficient they are as human beings, based on how much they consume versus how much they produce. What's their qualitative impact on the whole, on all of consciousness as it exists and as it will exist in the future? Because that's where the ball game is, the future. And we're going to be players in it. Even though we're dead, consciousness is going to be a player. And that's the same thing as a you or a me. There's still going to be you and me out there, yous and me's. And it's just a delusion to think that if you get through this life privileged and comfortable, but you leave the world a shithole, that you've done yourself any favors, because you haven't. that consciousness will live, and it will be just as real as your life. So you haven't won anything. You haven't escaped anything. Alright, I have made a few videos on this subject, but I just throw one more on the pile because this is a concept people really aren't getting. So.